Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another fashion edition. In wonderful news, Catherine the Princess of Wales was warmly welcomed back into the public space for a couple of events this past weekend for Remembrance Day. She attended the Festival of Remembrance as well as the actual Remembrance Day ceremony, and this marks just a couple out of only a handful of appearances she's made. I think everybody has the same sentiment around Catherine and her public-facing engagements at this point, and that is everybody seems very, very happy to let her take her time and not put any pressure on her, and is just grateful to see her. And she looks well, she looks better and better every time she has an event and is out and about. Clearly, this weekend was important to her. She's actually never missed a Remembrance Day ceremony since she married Prince William. So it's definitely something that she prioritizes, and was probably really, really nice for her to get to the point where she was feeling well enough that she knew she wouldn't have to miss it. And so she definitely looked happy to be there. She looked really, really good. She looked healthy. And of course, her and Prince William looked fabulous together. And 2 back-to-back events is a lot for anybody. And so her choosing to go ahead and be there for both of them, some people speculated it was in part because Queen Camilla is taking a break because she has a chest infection. So she's working on getting back to full health herself. But really, I think it was she feels ready and she feels like these are important events not to miss and that she feels connected to, which is really nice, really respectful. When you think about her and her role and the longevity of her role, having a tradition of like never missing a Remembrance Day is something that people will respect and is a nice thing. It really communicates values without having to say it out loud, that this is something she really does prioritize and care a lot about and feels is very important to show up for consistently, which is great. She, of course, attended alongside Prince William, King Charles, and a handful of other royals. But let's first look at what she wore to the Festival of Remembrance at Royal Albert Hall. She opted for an all-black ensemble, wearing a coat dress by Alexander McQueen. I feel like it is a rewear. I feel like we've seen it before, and she tends to do rewears on Remembrance Day weekend every time. There might be one new piece, but then the other piece is a rewear. For example, she'll rewear the same coat dress that she's worn previously with a new hat or fascinator, or vice versa. She'll wear a new coat dress with a reworn fascinator or hat. It's just one of those little things, just a little detail that tends to really lend itself to her understanding of the respect you are to show on these weekends, to not come out in a flashy full new outfit head to toe, but rather to choose from her closet already and her wardrobe already. So that was really, really, really nice. I think that this coat dress we have seen before, this very simple, very perfectly fitted Alexander McQueen coat dress, and she paired it with pearl jewelry, which is a nice choice. If you'll remember last year, she wore Queen Elizabeth's 3-strand pearl necklace, which was very poignant. But pearls can be a symbol of remembrance and mourning, so they're an elegant choice and a smart choice appropriate for the occasion. Her earrings are the Collingwood earrings from Princess Diana's collection. Her necklace is a high street necklace, so it's an affordable brand, just a regular pearl necklace that matched perfectly. So she got a good match there, and that's another thing that people love about seeing Catherine's outfits is how she mixes these things so seamlessly and just makes them look fabulous together, like they were made for each other. And it's also relatable. It provides that connection that people don't even realize to her, where she has that accessibility factor, where she seems more normal for doing things like that. Absolutely love her total look for this. The coat dress is perfect. I really enjoy the buttons along the sleeve and across the waist. It's tailored perfectly. It flatters her figure really nicely. The coat dress is, as you'll notice, hemmed just below the knee, which lends itself to the respectful nature. The modesty there is a good choice for the events. I like the way she styled her hair, swept off to one side here. The curls look luscious and gorgeous. Everything looks really nice, not too overdone and over the top, just really beautiful. And Catherine's makeup is actually really nice. Now, some people thought she looked like she was wearing a bit too much makeup, but when you look at this picture here, you'll notice she's not actually at all. It's just the lighting. When you're up in the Royal Box at Royal Albert Hall, there's all sorts of stage lighting not that far and lights going up at the box itself. And then there's like shadows everywhere around. And so it affects the way the light hits the people in the Royal Box. And so it creates a lot more shadows and whatnot. And so all you're seeing in the comparison between this picture and this picture is those shadows making her eyebrows and her cheek makeup and whatnot look darker than it really is. But here you can see when she's face on, her skin looks glowy and healthy and dewy, and her makeup does not look too harsh or dark at all. This is an evening event, and so this looks like a perfectly appropriate amount of makeup and perfectly well done makeup. I hope that she got to enjoy a nice hair and makeup session getting it done before the event, because that's always nice to feel a little bit pampered in that way. Of course, Princess Anne attended looking classy as always, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, with Prince Edward, attended. Now, Prince Edward is wearing a really snazzy double-breasted coat. I quite like his outfit, actually. He's a sharp dresser, much like his older brother, King Charles. Now, Sophie chose a velvet dress, which is really, really pretty, this black velvet dress. Now, velvet can be tricky when you're going to be photographed because the flash photography, like you can see in these pictures here, they hit at all sorts of different parts of the velvet, and it can be a little bit more challenging to wear velvet dresses when you're going to have flash photography involved. So that does two things. First, it makes the dress overall and the look overall a little bit more heavy and a little bit more busy to the eye. So it's creating more visual noise to the look overall. So you want to be sure to keep your accessories and your hair, your makeup, your jewelry, all of that a little bit more simple if you're wearing a velvet dress. Additionally, you need to pay a little bit closer attention to your execution. You need to make sure you have a nice smooth base and that the dress is well fitted, because if not, it's going to stand out even more with that flash photography picking up different dimensions and angles of the dress fabric than it might otherwise if it weren't velvet. And so she did a really good job here with this, you can see. I wouldn't have minded if this dress had just ever so slightly fuller skirt for her, just a little bit more volume to the skirt. It would have been really, really nice to see, but that's not her fault. That's just the dress design. This neckline is really flattering for her. It's got a little bit more of a collar, but then it has a decent length of a V-neck there, which helps to combat any bit of the collar looking like it's maybe eating up her neck. She doesn't look like it's shortening her neck at all, thanks to that V-neck, counteracting it, creating that balance of elongation. I quite like the ruffled or scalloped detail along the hem and the cuffs of her sleeves. The slight puff to the shoulder is great for her. She leans a little bit more pear in that her shoulders are not her widest point. They can be a little bit more narrow or in line with her hips. And so a little bit of a puff sleeve is a great addition for her. She can pull that off really nicely. Having her hair back with a nice statement earring that's not too dangly is also making this whole ensemble work really nicely, while the brooch gets to be the eye-catching pop of color that really ties it all together and gives a nice accent. The only thing I'm not 100% behind is her choice of handbag or purse for this. It looks to be blue and patterned. It's maybe a little bit busy for this particular outfit or occasion. Perhaps just a plain clutch or plain black handbag would have been a better option. I mean, it's a cute handbag on its own. Just don't know about it with this ensemble. But overall, she looked fabulous. Very nice choice, excellent length. You'll also notice both Sophie and Catherine, Princess of Wales, and probably Princess Anne. I don't know if I can find a full-length picture of her coming in, but they opt for darker tights for this occasion. You know, when you get black tights, you can get them in various ranges of sheerness. You can get really, really sheer black tights where you can still see much of the skin coming through, or you can get thicker, darker black tights that are going to show up more black like they chose for this. And that is all to do with keeping in line if this is a remembrance ceremony. You want to go for the darker tights, the black shoes, the black dresses. I really like the outfit she wore to the festival. Her gorgeous hair and her glowing smile, though, as always, were the true focus and highlight. Next, let's take a look at what the ladies wore for Remembrance Sunday for the Remembrance Day ceremony. Catherine, Princess of Wales, wore a military-inspired coat by Catherine Walker, which was a rewear from her 2020 look. I really liked it then. I really like it now, but this time she added a velvet bow right here on the collar. This is a great technique and something that we are used to Catherine doing expertly, and that is updating things. Remember I said she tends to rewear things on Remembrance Day, and that is in part to show respect. One of you guys recently asked me why Catherine wears 3 poppies or a 3 poppy pin rather than just like a single poppy. Now, she's never publicly said why she chooses to do this, but it's assumed that it's because her great-grandmother's 3 brothers died during World War I when they were serving. So that would be like her great-uncles, Maurice in 1915, Lionel in 1916, and Francis in 1917, according to this publication. But like I said, that's just an assumption as why she does. It would make sense, especially for her, who tends to be really thoughtful and mindful of those sorts of things. It's a nice sentimental touch. Now, I cannot find any information on this fascinator. I do feel like we've seen it before. I absolutely love this one. The veil is something that I think is so striking, so beautiful, so elegant. It's just gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And so I feel like it's a rewear, this fascinator, but I'm not 100% sure. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think. And here she is wearing a pair of Queen Elizabeth's earrings. These pearls were given to Elizabeth when she was just a princess for her wedding in 1947. And she had the pearls joined with diamonds to create the earrings that we see here now. And she wore them a lot when she was younger in life, and they were passed on to Diana after Diana had married Charles, and after Diana's death they were returned to the Queen, and then the Queen has evidently left them to Catherine, or perhaps Catherine is just borrowing them for the day, but they are absolutely beautiful. Really lovely touch. Everything looks pulled together really nicely. Her hairstyle's great, creates a nice balance for her fascinator. That's another thing that's important to consider when you're going to wear a hat or a fascinator is your hair needs to balance it and flow with it nicely. And so as you can see, it's a lot fuller. It's not tied back super, super tight and sleek across the sides, because that would just make the fascinator itself look a little bit too big or almost like a comical topper. So she does a really nice job, or whoever it is that does her hair does a really nice job of creating these nice, soft, voluminous updos that are still sleek and polished. Really, really classy. And Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, is dressed fabulously here. She has this cowl neck style dress on that's creating a lovely neckline for her, a single strand of pearls. As you know, the significance, great choice for the significance there. And this lovely wide-brimmed hat. This is really striking. When you look at the pictures of these ladies up on the balcony from that day, they both just look really nice, really striking, absolutely beautiful. Both look very polished, really appropriate for the occasion. Great, great choices. And of course, Prince William and King Charles also looked very handsome and dapper in their uniforms for the day. As we've discussed, the royals are really careful when it comes to wearing black. There's a lot of reasons for it, but perhaps the most important is that it allows black to be a more significant symbol when worn. It carries a bigger impact if you don't see them in black often. Then it's quite striking when you do see them in all black, like these pictures here. Remembrance Day events, funerals, times of mourning are the occasions where black is expected to be worn by the royal ladies. But there is an exception, and that is for evening gowns. For events taking place in the evening, in the nighttime, a black evening gown is an acceptable option, of course, though. For example, Queen Elizabeth rarely opted for black for her evening gowns, but occasionally we've seen other royal ladies in black for an evening event. Princess Diana, obviously, this one that's rather infamous for being sort of ill-fitting and maybe a bit of a risky choice at the time. But you'll recall that Meghan Markle actually wore black a lot to daytime events and to events that were not Remembrance Day events or funeral events. And this very much diminished the power of wearing black clothing for her specifically. And this was quite noticeable at the Queen's funeral, for example. Meghan's outfits were much less impactful. They were not striking in the slightest. Meanwhile, Catherine's and the other royal ladies were really remarkable and looked very striking and created these really poignant images because we don't often see them in these all-black ensembles. Speaking of, let's take a look back at Princess Catherine's absolutely gorgeous, elegant ensemble for the Queen's funeral. This is just one of the most beautiful things she's ever worn. Despite it being for something incredibly sad and challenging, this is just a stunning look here. You'll notice this coat dress has ever so slightly more volume to the skirt than some of her others, which creates a really beautiful silhouette, a little bit of a softer flow to it, and prevents it from being like tight or form-fitting in any way. So it was a really respectful option. Her veiled hat was one of her best of all time. Just absolutely beautiful. Feminine touches throughout this outfit. You'll notice the extra bit of pleat in the skirt, creating a little bit more softness and flow. The veil itself, obviously gorgeous. And the little bow on top of her wide-brimmed hat. Perfectly tied together by her intricate updo and gorgeous, stunning jewelry. Here she is wearing a choker, earrings, and a bracelet from the Queen's collection, obviously chosen to honor the late monarch. And again, as you'll notice, this coat dress is a below-the-knee hemline, allowing for that extra thoughtfulness towards the occasion. She has this same exact coat dress in white, which you will recognize from this trooping the color during the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. For Prince Philip's funeral, she looked equally as classy, polished, and graceful. This is where we see what might be the same fascinator that she wore this year, perhaps. Let me know your opinions in the comments. But here she's wearing the bow tie coat by Catherine Walker, which she has worn in red as well. You'll notice that. And she's wearing it over the top of a black Roland Moray asymmetric dress. And the Queen's Bahrain pearl drop earrings and the Queen's 4-row pearl choker, the same one that she wore to the Queen's funeral. Absolutely stunning, very, very striking. And as you can see, it's not just that she looks impeccable and fabulous and is really, really, really thoughtful and mindful and good at putting together really great outfits, or her stylist is really fabulous at helping her with all of these things. It's all the little details and the fact that black is one of those striking colors. It really stands out when she wears it. And so this year's Remembrance Day was no different from that. For a comparison to Meghan Markle's Remembrance Day looks, the couple of times that she attended, versus what the royal ladies tend to wear, as well as a fashion edition featuring all of Catherine, Princess of Wales's Remembrance Day looks over the years, take a look at this playlist I have created for you here. I will also link them at the end of today's video. Thank you so much for joining me for today's fashion edition. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a happy day ahead. I'll see you next time. Bye!